Let's start with the Sunday night matchup. Overtime, we get a 26-20 win. Detroit takes down the Rams, and it really was. I felt like it was the perfect nightcap to a perfect day because this was two teams that both just looked like they are going to have seasons. This was a good matchup. It was cleaner football than we saw for a lot of the day, and it was a reminder that, yeah, these two teams both look like they're set to be really good this season.
Really well coached. Let's start with the Rams, just because I need to shout out the effort they gave. Look, this team, they're down 17-3. They're losing a ton of linemen. Already came into the game without their left tackle who was suspended. Puka Nacua hurts his knee again. I hope that's not serious. I worry. Same knee that he hurt through August that kept him out. I just wonder where this is going for Nacua. If you come right back, you get hurt right away. I don't know if it's the same injury. We'll see. We'll see with Puka. Obviously, you didn't like to see him go out of the game. And when you're down 17-3 at Detroit, very shorthanded, you're just like, okay, well, that's fine. It's not their day. They have next week. It's one game out of 17. But no, the Rams did the opposite of packing it in. They fought their behinds off, especially Matthew Stafford, who is just having this awesome late career surge. After the 2022 season, I thought he might retire, really. The injuries, the concussions. At very least, I thought, he's going to come back and this isn't going to be pretty. And what he has done the past 2 seasons has been nothing short of remarkable. He was awesome last year. He was awesome tonight. He dragged that team into this game and almost had the win. Cooper Kupp was awesome. Like, this was just... the Lions won. We'll give them their flowers. They deserve to win, especially with how they ran the ball in overtime. But I come out of this game saying, wow, what an effort by the Rams. Again, got to see about Nakua's injury. That could really affect their season if it's bad. But you come out of this, if you're the Rams, saying, yeah, we lost, and that stinks. But you know what? We lost an overtime field goal to the Detroit Lions on the road. We fought that hard with our linemen. Our offensive line was just glued together at the end. It was really, really impressive performance by the Rams, even in a loss.
I never want to take for granted the fact that these are two quarterbacks for each team that was given up on for whatever reason by other teams that just felt like they had to get a different spot. There just needed to be a change of scenery. These are two quarterbacks that, frankly, this could have gone the wrong way for both of them going into new locations. And instead, it feels like each of them has just become more beloved because of it. As they went out to take the coin toss for overtime, they pointed it out on the broadcast, how special it was to see two guys that are still bonded with that city of Detroit. And you can feel that. Like, Stafford obviously still gets a ton of love, but you're right. Watching both of them play right now and remembering what we thought of each of them just a few years ago, it's just different. Stafford has taken another step, and Goff is absolutely in control at all times. And you mentioned overtime. It's important to note, frankly, the Rams were gassed. Whoever won the coin toss, I think, was going to have a huge advantage.
I agree with that.
They just ran the ball right down their throats. That's going to happen right now. And I was impressed that the Lions took that lead, but then also when they lost that lead, they never panicked. There's a calm to what the Lions do, and it's one game sample, but there is a we belong, we're here, and we're used to it feel the way this game went down that really impressed me, because last year, so much of the conversation was, well, what is going to happen now that the Lions are one of the hunted? Well, the Lions were being hunted and had no problem with that throughout the course of this game. I think it was a real statement for the Lions to say, hey, we're up, we're down, we're up, we're fine.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. There was a calm. They didn't seem like they were panicked in any way. They didn't go for it with about 4.5 minutes to go. I wondered, is Dan Campbell going for it here? He's like, no, our defense is fine. We're going to get the ball back. And they did. After a crazy throw by Matthew Stafford on third down to get a first down, they finally did get the stop they needed. The positives for the Lions, Jameson Williams looked great. Like, he's going to be a real impact guy. Like, he has a lot of talent, and he's going to have some games where he just flips a game. Like, he's got that kind of ability, and you saw it tonight. And I thought, look, the precursor to what happened in overtime, there was a 4th and 2 early in the game. And in that situation, not many teams run it up the middle. But I think the Lions have such confidence in their offensive line that they just said, we're going to have David Montgomery right up the middle. We're going to get this yardage. And they did. Montgomery got 3 yards. They got the first down. And that stuck with it in my head. And then you get the overtime. And like you said, the Rams are gassed at that point. And nothing, what can you do? But it still was impressive to see the Lions run the ball 7 out of 8 times in that overtime drive and just get chunks of yards. They were just moving the pile. David Montgomery was running hard. The Lions could beat you in different ways. They can't throw the heck out of the ball. I mean, Jared Goff has been 4,500-yard passer the last couple of years, but the root of this team, this Dan Campbell team, is that offensive line where they have the confidence to just say, you know what, if we just want to bully you around today, we can do that. Like we're perfectly happy getting in a street fight with you. And that's what happened in overtime. Now, real quick, like, look, the Lions are in a different spot right now. We're not just patting them on the head and saying, hey, you're 1-0 and nothing else. None of the problems matter because you're 1-0. We do have to look under a microscope with the Lions. They had a really, really tough time defending anybody tonight, especially Cooper Kupp. We talked all last season about how bad their secondary was, how they gave up too many big plays. They went out and got a ton of cornerbacks. Well, it didn't really work tonight. Like, I mean, Matthew Stafford's great. Cooper Kupp was great. It still doesn't mean you could allow him to throw for more than 300 yards, 34 of 49, I believe he was. Some issues in the secondary they still need to work on. And you do have to, like, there is some concern about blowing a 17-3 lead at home and being in that position at all. We could be having a much different conversation about the Detroit Lions if the Rams pick up one more first down, but you can work through all those problems at 1-0. It's a lot easier.
Well, there's also a lot of youth in that secondary, right? And they had to press late in the game. They were pressed into action. I think that youth puts you a little bit uneasy, right? Because if you think about it, this Lions team is built to take some big leads, which means they're going to be facing a lot of teams that are throwing the ball a lot. That youth is going to have to grow up quickly to be able to show that they can handle the workload they're going to get throughout the course of the season. I think it's fair to look at that and say, hey, still an incomplete grade on that, but it is also week one, right? And so we talk about how bland preseason football is. All these guys now are facing the real thing, and that's a much different beast, right? And I do want to go back to one thing you mentioned on the offensive line too. The next time somebody questions an offensive line being drafted high, offensive lineman being drafted high, I just want to use this game as a great example of shut up, right? Penei Sewell and the way he played in this game is a reminder of why you go, like, if you've got the guy available to, they're just, I say this every year, I will echo this, we saw it today. There are not 32 starting caliber left tackles and 32 starting caliber right tackles currently in the NFL. There are not many offensive lines that I can look left or right and say, you know what? All 5 of these guys are elite. It just doesn't really exist. So if you can draft somebody that comes in and makes an immediate impact, man, it is such a difference maker. Fans just need to calm down and just trust whenever their favorite team drafts an offensive lineman that is a smart thing to do because, frankly, they're hard as hell to find and nobody lets them go if they're any good once they're in the league.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the Chargers. We'll talk about them later, but that's certainly the style they want to play, and they played it today. Sorry, Fitz. But yes, I mean, this Lions offensive line, maybe the Eagles, but probably the Lions best in football, and that's a great place to start. And then you pair that with all the speed they have at the skill positions. Really tough runner in David Montgomery, a very capable quarterback in Jared Goff. I think the key for them, though, is just where is the secondary at? Is it good? Like, is this just, like you said, you got a lot of young guys getting their first taste of the NFL, Matthew Stafford playing out of his mind. They were in a bad game script, so they're passing a lot anyway. Or was this just, well, the Lions haven't fixed their problem? That's going to be the key, the difference between, are the Lions just a good team that's going to win a division and flame out in the playoffs, or can they win a Super Bowl? It's all about that secondary. The first test wasn't great. You can't say it was, but like you said, early in the season, these young guys will grow up. We'll see where the secondary evolves to.